The last paleontologist. I never thought I'd be posting here, but after what happened at the dig site last month, I need to get this off my chest. Maybe someone can help me make sense of it. This is going to be long, so bear with me. I'm a paleontologist working in the Badlands of Montana. For the past 3 years, my team has been excavating what we believe to be a significant Tyrannosaurus rex specimen. We called her Regina. She was special, not just because of her size, but because of the unusual circumstances surrounding the fossil bed. The discovery happened in late 2023, when a local rancher, Bill Hendricks, noticed some exposed bone fragments after a particularly harsh storm season. He'd seen plenty of fossils before, you can't avoid them out here, but something about these made him call the university. When we arrived, we knew immediately this was different. Regina was positioned in a way that didn't make geological sense. Typically, large theropod fossils are found scattered, the bones separated by time, water, and scavengers. But Regina was almost perfectly articulated, curled in what looked like a protective position. And she wasn't alone. Surrounding her were the remains of at least 7 juvenile specimens, all positioned as if they'd been sheltering beneath her. This was revolutionary. For years, there's been debate about whether T-Rex exhibited parental care. Regina seemed to be our answer, a mother who died protecting her young. But here's where it gets strange.
As we carefully excavated the site, we noticed something odd in the sediment layer. The rock surrounding Regina wasn't the typical mudstone or sandstone you'd expect from the late Cretaceous period. It had an unusual composition, almost glassy in places, with microscopic spherules of melted material. My colleague, Dr. Sarah Chen, suggested it might be impact ejecta from the Chicxulub asteroid, which would make the timing extraordinary. Regina might have been alive during the actual extinction event. We sent samples to 3 different labs for dating. All 3 came back with results that made no sense. The organic material in the bones dated to approximately 66 million years ago, as expected, but the sediment directly touching the fossils, it dated to less than 200 years ago. Obviously, we assumed contamination, but repeated tests showed the same results. The rock layers above and below the fossil bed were correct for the late Cretaceous period. Only the material in immediate contact with the bones showed this impossible date. Then we found the object. It was small, about the size of a smartphone, embedded in the rib cage of one of the juveniles. At first, we thought it might be a gastrolith, a stomach stone, but the shape was too regular, too geometric. When we carefully extracted and cleaned it, we found ourselves looking at something that shouldn't exist.
The object was metallic, with a dark, non-reflective surface. It had no visible seams or markings, but when Dr. Chen touched it, it activated. A holographic display flickered to life, showing symbols that looked almost like writing, but in no language any of us recognized. The display lasted maybe 10 seconds before the device went dark again. We haven't been able to reactivate it since. We documented everything, took photographs, and immediately secured the object. The decision was made to keep this quiet until we could understand what we were dealing with. That's when the problem started. 3 days after finding the device, our site was visited by 2 men in unmarked vehicles. They claimed to be from the Bureau of Land Management, doing a routine inspection, but their questions weren't routine. They asked specifically about unusual findings and whether we discovered any technological artifacts. We denied everything, showing them only the dinosaur fossils. They left, but we knew they'd be back. That night, Sarah and I stayed late at the site, examining the device under portable lab equipment. She's a physicist by training before she switched to paleontology, and she was convinced the object was generating some kind of field, not electromagnetic, something else, something that was affecting the rock around it, possibly even affecting time itself on a localized scale.
What if, she said, the extinction didn't happen the way we think it did? I didn't understand what she meant at first. The Chicxulub impact is well documented. We have the crater, the global iridium layer, the evidence of massive fires and tsunamis. The asteroid killed the dinosaurs. That's settled science. What if something else came first? Sarah continued. What if the asteroid was just finishing what had already started? She showed me her analysis of the device's energy signature. According to her calculations, if the device had been active 66 million years ago, it would have generated a temporal displacement field large enough to affect everything within a 100-mile radius. Anything caught in that field would have experienced time at a dramatically different rate than the rest of the world. Regina and her babies weren't killed by the impact, Sarah said. They were preserved by this device, frozen in a temporal bubble while millions of years passed outside. And something, or someone, released them recently. That's why the sediment is only 200 years old. It formed after they were freed from the field. I wanted to call it crazy, but the evidence was right there in front of us. The next morning, our camp was ransacked. Nothing was stolen. Whoever broke in was clearly looking for something specific. The device was in Sarah's tent, hidden in her personal gear. By pure luck, they didn't find it.
We made the decision to split up. Sarah would take the device to a colleague she trusted at MIT, someone with the clearance and resources to properly analyze it. I would stay with the dig team and continue the excavation as if nothing had happened. That was 4 weeks ago. Sarah never made it to MIT. Her car was found abandoned on a rural highway in Wyoming. There was no sign of struggle, no blood, no indication of what happened to her. The device was gone. The only thing left was her phone, which had been white tweam except for one text message she'd sent to my number. They're not from the government. They're older than that. Regina was a warning. I don't know what that means. I don't know who they are or what Regina was meant to warn us about. But I do know that our understanding of the extinction event is incomplete. The official story is that we lost funding and had to close the dig site. Regina's bones are now scattered across 3 different institutions for further study. The juveniles have been quietly classified as a separate species to explain away the parental pair arrangement. The entire discovery has been fragmented and buried in bureaucracy.
But I kept something. One of the spherules from the sediment, the glassy impact ejecta that wasn't from any known impact. I had it analyzed privately. The composition matches no known terrestrial material, but it does match samples recovered from the Tunguska event site in Russia, another mysterious explosion that scientists still don't fully understand. 2 weeks ago, I received an envelope at my university office. No return address, postmarked from Santa Fe. Inside was a single photograph, a Polaroid, aged and yellowed. It showed a dinosaur, alive, standing in what looked like a modern forest. The creature was clearly a theropod, similar to a dromaeosaur. In the background, barely visible, was a structure that might have been a building. Written on the back in handwriting I didn't recognize. Time is not linear. They learned this before we did. Some are still learning. SC. Sarah's initials. I've been researching obsessively since then. There are stories if you know where to look. Cryptid sightings that match descriptions of small theropod dinosaurs. Unexplained disappearances near sites of major fossil discoveries. Government interest in paleontological digs that seems disproportionate to scientific value. And there are the myths. Ancient cultures around the world have stories about thunder lizards or great reptiles that appear and disappear, beings from another time who walk among us. We've always dismissed these as fantasies, as misidentified megafauna or folk memory of actual dinosaurs. But what if some of those stories are true?
What if the extinction wasn't complete? What if something, some technology we don't understand, has been moving living dinosaurs through time? And what if whoever or whatever is doing this is still active? I don't expect anyone to believe me. I barely believe it myself. But I needed to document this somewhere, to create a record in case something happens to me. If you're reading this and you know something, if you've seen something similar or heard whispers about projects involving temporal displacement or recovered non-human technology, please reach out. And if you're involved in the fossil trade, especially if you're working with specimens from the late Cretaceous period, be careful. Check the sediment composition. Look for anomalies in the dating. And if you find anything that looks technological, anything that doesn't belong, don't touch it, don't activate it, and for God's sake, don't let them know you found it. I'm going back to Montana next week. Bill Hendricks called me yesterday. He says there's been activity at the ranch, lights at night, strange sounds. He found more bones exposed by recent rains. He says these ones look fresh. I'm probably making a mistake, but I have to know. I have to understand what happened to Sarah, what Regina was really trying to tell us across 66 million years. If I don't update this post within 2 weeks, please send help, or at least remember this story.
Someone needs to know the truth. I'm posting this from a burner phone in a truck stop outside Billings. I don't have much time. They found me at the university. I barely got out. I don't know how they tracked me down, but they knew about this Furial sample, knew about the photograph. My office has been officially closed for fumigation, but I saw through the window. They're taking everything. I'm heading to the ranch tonight. Bill says the activity has intensified. He's seen them, people in unmarked vehicles with equipment he doesn't recognize. But he's also seen something else, something moving in the ravines at dusk, something too large to be a deer or cattle. I've left copies of everything, all my research, all the documentation, with 3 trusted colleagues. If this post disappears, if I disappear, the truth is out there. To Sarah, wherever you are, I understand now. Time is not linear, and we're not alone in discovering that fact. This is Dr. Marcus Foster, signing off. Wish me luck.